All right, and we are rolling. Now I have significantly less hair than I think I've ever had, so I probably look like a different human being. Paul didn't recognize it, so we're okay. I'm here with Paul, who is the founder or co-founder? Founder, yeah, sole founder of PR 2020, and then the orchestrator of MAICON, a conference coming to Cleveland in July, I believe.
Yeah. July 16th, 18th.
July 16th, 18th. Really just want to bring him in and go over kind of his background, learn a little bit more about what MAICON really is about, and kind of go from there. So to start us off, tell us who you are, how you came to be here, and why you're making this conference.
Yeah, so Paul Roetzer, founder, CEO of PR 2020. PR 2020 is a digital marketing agency, services and consulting work for clients all around the country and really all around the world. Started that in 2005. We were HubSpot's first partner.
Okay.
With HubSpot back in 2007, 2008, so we were very early into marketing automation, and somewhere along the way in 2011, right after I did my first book, became obsessed with artificial intelligence, what it was, how it could be eventually applied to marketing and sales, and that was really what started it. And I just started reading and researching and trying to comprehend it all. And in my second book in 2014, it was called Marketing Performance Blueprint. And it was broken into talent, tech, and strategy as the three pillars of being able to achieve performance. And in the tech section, we basically told the story of what if IBM Watson was opened up to build on as a platform, and marketers could actually build smarter technology. And shortly thereafter it was. And then all this money that was pouring into what I would consider traditional marketing automation, which is, here's your software, you write all the rules, like you figure out when to send the emails and what subject line to use and all these things. We started moving into a phase where smarter tech was being built that decided those things for you or recommended what to do for you. So it was using machine learning and types of artificial intelligence to actually automate repetitive tasks for humans. And so that was 2016, 2017, and that's when we really started saying, well, we got to do something here. Like, we've been thinking about this for 5 years. There's something here, and so you could build a software company and try and build AI yourself, or in our case, we chose to build the Marketing Artificial Intelligence Institute, which was, let's tell the story of AI. Let's figure out what's going on and make it make sense to the average marketer. Because I'm a PR major. Like, I went to the journalism school, came out with a PR degree in marketing and business. Like, I'm not an AI engineer. I'm not a machine learning engineer. Like, I don't research and build stuff. So we were seeing all these tools at the time saying they're using AI, saying they're using machine learning. It's like, are they? And how much smarter is it really? Is it worth the additional money?
Sure.
And there was no answers. Like, you couldn't vet 3 marketing software products next to each other and actually know which one was really using machine learning. So we just started interviewing all these people and asking these, like, kind of the basic questions. How are you using AI? What's limitations? What's potential? What are the use cases? What are case studies? You've actually done this. Who have you done this for? And the answer was usually no one.
Okay.
So we realized, wow, okay, the industry is not as far along as we thought. And we just really focused on storytelling. And at that time, the Institute was a DBA. It was just a part of PR 2020. And then late 2018, we decided to build the Marketing AI Conference and bring it to Cleveland. And from then, I then split off the Institute as its own business. And now that's really our focus, is bringing the conference to Cleveland, and 400 to 500 people this year. And about half the people who've been registering are actually international. Like, it's a big thing.
So if you're looking at like the Institute, and that's been around for how long?
November of 16, I created that.
So it had about a year of running on its own without this conference kind of in the two years. Yeah. What, I guess, if somebody wanted to interact with it, what do they do? There's a website. Do you go to the website? What's on the website?
Yeah, marketingaiinstitute.com is the main site. And then we do a newsletter twice a week. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, we send out a newsletter that has, I usually write 150 to 300 word editorial about it's answering questions, really, answering questions about AI. And then we usually have 1 to 2 featured articles that we publish 4 to 5 times a week on the blog. And then we do a roundup of like 5 to 7 interesting links for the week. So we do that twice a week. That's free. And then we also have a beginner's guide there that's just like 100+ curated resource if you want to learn about AI, also free. So that's the main hub, and then we did create a website dedicated to the event as well, which is MAICON.ai, MAICON.ai.
And we were talking a little bit as to whether or not it was MAICON,
MAICON, whatever you want.
MAICON, there's all sorts of different, I guess, ways you can say it, but what that is marketing artificial intelligence conference. Yeah. And so have you ever done an event before, anything like this, to kind of build up to it, or we're just going right into
it? I've never done anything like this.
What inspired you to do that? Because you're more of a PR guy then, not necessarily. I mean, obviously, the marketing is a massive component of that, but at the same time, that's not. This seems to be a new venture for you.
Yeah, most of the things I've done in my career that were crazy was because I felt there was a story to tell.
Okay.
So when I wrote my first book, The Marketing Agency Blueprint, I never had a career goal to write a book. I never even actually thought about writing a book. It was because we were early with HubSpot, 2007, 2008. They didn't officially create their partner program, which now has thousands of agencies around the world and accounts for 45% of their revenue roughly. So we were the origin of that before it was ever even a thing. And so when I wrote the first book, it was basically like all these agencies around the world were coming to us to figure out what we were doing and how we were doing it. Mm-hmm. And so I mean, at the time, 2011, I was 32, 33. Like, I didn't think I'd done anything to be able to say, well, here's how you should build an agency. Yeah. So I looked at it and said, well, we've been willing to try things. So when I started PR 2020, it was to do standardized services, set pricing. It was a totally different agency model. And so we had years of trial and error of what I thought was a different approach. I was never one to say, like, this is better than what you're doing. I was just saying, it's different and we think it's better for our clients.
Right.
So when I got approached to write the book, well, first I had a lady from Romania reached out to me in December of 2010 and said they were building their country's first inbound marketing agency because of us. And so I realized, like, here was this lady halfway around the world that was changing everything. And I started getting more and more messages like this from people that were trying to do what we were doing. And I thought, well, there's a story here. Like, we can share what we're doing and why we're doing it. And in return, maybe some other people can advance their own businesses. So I wrote the book because there was a story to be told.
Sure.
It did well. Then I did the second book, similar thing. When we launched the Institute, started investing hundreds of hours of agency time telling the story of AI, it was because, like, there was something there and I didn't know what it was. And so for the event, I looked at it as, like, this is the ultimate story, but instead of me telling it, we're going to tell it through 60 plus speakers. But the main thing we want is there's trillions of dollars that are going to be, like, business is going to be impacted in trillions of dollars annual impact from AI. It's going to change everything that we do. And yet 99% plus of marketers that I know of have no clue what it is. They don't understand it. They can't pilot it. They can't figure out what it is. They think it's sci-fi. They think it's abstract. So they're just afraid of it. And so the story to me is, like, you're going to miss out on the greatest opportunity of our lifetimes to transform your business if you don't take action. And so we saw the event as a way to do it.
So I guess when you're doing your initial research, right, and you're looking at, obviously, IBM Watson is not, at least when I talk to AI guys, now everyone's kind of talking about TensorFlow and what Facebook and Google are doing. Yeah. Obviously, Watson's still up there. What are you seeing people are using in marketing, as far as, those kind of maybe neural networks or what have you?
Most of them are touching that stuff. It's the play for most marketers is you look at things that take a lot of your time. So, like, just last week we announced we were automating press releases. So the reason we're doing that is because there are large organizations that need to send press releases out or need to create them about specific publicly needed news or financial news or personal awards, like things that they have to, like, get information out there about. Most of them are formulaic. It's like the Associated Press does earnings reports using machines to write them. Okay. Fantasy sports stories. You probably haven't read a human-written fantasy sports story in 3 years.
It's all just AI.
It's all written by machines. You teach a machine how to do it, and then it just spits it out. So the human creates the template. But, like, I look at all things like that and say, well, it's completely inefficient for us to be doing it. So we go find tools to do individual things. And that's where most marketers are, is like, if you spend a lot of time doing email marketing, or if you spend a lot of time figuring out what social shares to write or when to share them, you can go find tools where the geeks already built tools using AI to do it in a smarter way. You just have to buy their software. So there aren't many organizations that are actually going and getting TensorFlow and figure out how to build something. They're identifying a use case that they spend a lot of time and energy and money doing, and finding a smarter way to do it.
Sure, and that's I guess the AI generated stories is something that has been coming more and more, or coming up more and more. One of the other things is computer generated faces. I don't know if you saw that. This person doesn't exist.com.
Yeah.
So it's getting harder and harder to discern what was human made versus machine made. Do you find that that's an issue for the human jobs? Most people in AI, I think, are pretty much on the board of this will make more content, more jobs, this will be better for everyone, kind of that bandwagon. Or do you fall in that, or do you have a concern about that?
I have many concerns about it.
Okay.
I think in the near term, which I would say like 1 to 3 years, it's going to be complementary for the most part. It'll augment what we're doing. So like if we automate the writing of press releases, one, we don't do a ton of press releases. It's not a huge thing. But it's not going to take someone's job away. It'll be like you don't have to write the earnings releases anymore, which you probably hated doing anyway because it's just pulling a bunch of data in and then double checking your data and stuff like that. So we're trying to automate things that are repetitive and time intensive and data intensive that most of the time humans aren't that good at or don't enjoy anyway. And we're not replacing people's jobs. We're actually freeing them up to do more creativity and strategy and things like that. So that's what most of it's going to be in the near term. 3 to 5 years, and then 5 years and beyond, it's anybody's guess. The machines will get smarter. They will be able to do more and more things that traditionally humans would do. The things you mentioned about the fake content, fake videos, fake images, that's a major problem. Like I actually worry about that one a lot because the next election cycle, which is basically starting now, that may end up being the biggest story of the entire election cycle because you can make a deep fake video about anybody and it can look like them and it can sound like them and you have no idea if it actually was them. And what we've learned in today's media is it doesn't really even matter. Is it tweeted out and do enough people see it to believe it?
Sure.
And then who cares if it was real or not? So the government's spending billions of dollars right now trying to build AI that can tell if content, images, videos was real or not. So it's like an AI versus AI battle that's actually happening right now, and most people would think it was an episode of Black Mirror if they heard about it, and it's not. It's real.
Yeah. It's when they look at the image, how well were the glasses made, things like that. Yeah, I've looked into some of that. So, pertaining to marketing, how do you think that's going to affect the marketers, and people in PR?
So it's interesting. I'm writing an editorial about this today because
convenient.
Yeah. So most marketers need to focus on what is AI, how can I actually use it, and don't be overwhelmed by the idea of it. Because if you just wait around, your competitors are going to just race ahead, and this is like the closest equivalent in our lifetime would be the advent of the internet itself. Like if you just sat around and said the internet's dumb, like whatever, it's not going to change anything, or email, or getting a website for your company, like that's going to end up being child's play compared to what we're going to be capable of doing with AI. And those are massive transformations of society.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not even underselling this. Like Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google, said AI is the most profound thing humanity has ever worked on. He considers it on par with electricity and fire. Literally just transformational. So I think most marketers need to focus on very basic concepts, understanding that it's largely about making predictions. So anything in your job that you do where you're making a prediction, predicting what subject line to write, when to send your email, what images to use, what hashtag to use, every one of those things is actually a prediction about what you think is going to work. That's where AI excels, is making predictions and augmenting what we're capable of doing with predictions. If you just understand that basic concept, you're now further ahead than most people.
Sure.
But over the weekend, I read an article about an agency that created a virtual representation of Salvador Dali and installed it at a museum. And Salvador Dali will actually interact with you and take selfies with you. And what they did is they trained a machine on 6,000 hours of footage of Salvador Dali, 6,000 images of his face.
Sure.
And then video footage of him to recreate his face, all the voice, all the facial expressions on an actor's body. And when someone walks into the museum, they're actually interacting with Salvador Dali for all they can tell, and he's taking pictures with them. The agency that did that understood AI. They understood there was a smarter way, there was a more engaging thing they could do. Whereas every other agency that didn't know those capabilities, like they just changed the game. Like now they've created an experiential thing that you wouldn't have known could exist without AI.
So just so I can visualize this, is this a suit the actor wears?
No, you walk in, there's like a TV screen, like
okay, it's, it's
life-size.
one of those boxes. I think they had something similar to this at like a video conference out this way, and they had people taking selfies with various actors, but it was I don't know if it was as comprehensive as
interactive,
and authentic to be.
Yeah, because he actually takes the picture and then he'll turn on and show you the phone, and the actual picture's in the phone. Like it's just
next level stuff, right?
Which is awesome, and it's inspiring as a marketer. Looking like, well, you couldn't do that 3 years ago. Like that's a whole new kind of marketing that most people are still trying to figure out. Well, what's the difference between AI and machine learning? Like they're not even close to thinking about things like that.
Sure, but you think that the long term is potentially bad for the human element of marketing, where the AI will just be able to take it and run with it.
I think it's going to be similar to the internet, where if we rewound to the early 90s and we started thinking about mass adoption of the internet, anybody who spends their time in the tech world a little bit could come up with 100 ways the internet could be bad and used in awful ways.
Sure.
And you could also come up with 100 ways it could be used in incredible ways and change society and humanity. And I think that's where we're with AI. Like I could sit here and list 100 ways AI could go wrong. But I could also list 100 ways it could make everything right. And so I think the more people that understand it, the more we'll push forward conversations around ethics and morals of it, which are critical, but we have to get people to the understanding stage before we can even get them to care about the ethics stage. And so the more people we have understanding it, the more people we can have creating the conversations that need to happen, so more good than bad comes out of it.
Yeah. It was an interesting comment you made where, and I probably am closer to this camp of AI is one of the most profound inventions that we've had, certainly in our lifetime. But there's, obviously I interview several different people from several different technical backgrounds, and I hear that with a lot of different technologies. Blockchain's the next internet, AI is the next internet. What do you think makes AI different from, like, let's just pick on blockchain, for example. Why would you say that AI is more profound an invention?
Blockchain doesn't get smarter on its own. It doesn't come up with new paths to do anything. It does what it's told to do.
Sure.
So AI is... you can build AI to learn and do anything at a scale the human mind can't comprehend. So if you want to solve climate change or become an interplanetary species, like there's insanely difficult problems to be solved that the human mind isn't wired to solve, that machines can be. Their ability to eventually solve is infinite. It's based on data and computational power, so it's almost limitless. So that's why, it's because it can learn and it can achieve things the human mind can't. I don't think we've ever seen anything like it.
I like it. Yeah, I think that AI has far more applications as a technology, and I think that there's obviously the predictive analytics, but there's also just the sorting. There's the A/B testing. There's so many different ways it's gonna, because like when you talk AI, some people say or just think about cars. Yeah. They don't think of anything beyond trucks and cars.
No, they usually have whatever they've seen in a movie or in a show or like read an article about, like watched Watson on 60 Minutes. Sure. Like that's it. That's AI to them. Yeah. Not you use 100 times in your life. Like go to almost every app on your phone. Yeah. Google Maps, Netflix. Like they're all using AI.
Yeah. And I think that if you put AI on top of an Excel spreadsheet, you have something that might even be more usable than blockchain. The use cases for blockchain are limited in that, whereas if you just had a database for a lot of these things, especially because you don't want things to be on a public ledger, let's say, I think that's an important distinction. Yep. And I challenge anyone that's into blockchain that wants to fight me on that one.
Well, I have heard a good, and it might have been Bernie Moreno himself, like when he's talking about blockchain, one of the critical components of blockchain is the AI requires massive amounts of clean data and structured data and accurate data, so blockchain can help enable the cleanliness and the accuracy of the data that eventually helps build AI. Like
it can help steer AI, but it still is it's steering something. I look at blockchain as more of like a language, like there are. There's giant groups of people that do just Python. There's giant groups of people that do C#, and I feel like and both those things integrate well with AI programs, right? And I think that's kind of where that will sit. But
complementary technologies for
absolutely
sure.
Everything is an augmentation of each other. Yeah, I think that AI without some of the added trust benefits in certain situations, primarily immutable stamps, of what happened at that point in time. Incredibly valuable to the growth and where AI is going. Do I think that AI can survive without that, though? Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. And it would be probably a worse product, though. So, getting away from that kind of weird debate that I threw on you. MAICON, right?
Yeah.
So when is it again?
July 16th to the 18th, Huntington Convention Center,
Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah.
Who should go?
It's for manager level and above marketers. So it is for those manager, director, VP, CMO, the ones who are in charge of driving innovation in the organization, the ones who are in charge of driving performance. The way I look at it is, if you don't understand what it's capable of doing to help you reduce costs, increase revenue, drive greater ROI, you're doing a disservice to yourself and your brand. Like, it's just your competitors, your peers will figure it out in the next 1 to 3 years. Yeah. Now is the chance for those people to get in early and figure it out first and be proactive about it.
Sure. And tell me a little bit about the speakers.
Speakers are from a bunch of big organizations like IBM, HubSpot, Publicis if you're on the agency side, MIT Tech Review, Facebook. We actually just added a speaker from Facebook.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so and she's going to be awesome because she comes from a humanities background. And so she's actually going to tell the story about how newsfeed and what they decide goes into the newsfeed, how the humanities side actually considers the impact of changing the dialect of geographic regions by recommending what to reply and when to reply with that stuff. And they have to consider the millions of people they can affect who would maybe say something negative and they only give 3 positive options. It's awesome. I heard her talk a couple months ago in Amsterdam, and I was like, I gotta have that talk.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, Facebook's a nice little startup to have, in your speaking catalog, right?
Yeah. So we've got over 60 speakers, 40 plus sessions. So it should be incredible. I'm hoping I have time during the event to actually absorb the sessions because I'm excited about a lot of them.
What kind of, do you have some kind of recording of any of the events? Or?
Yeah, we haven't figured out how much. Our goal is at least the main stage. So there'll be about 12 main stage general sessions, and then there'll be a bunch of breakout sessions. And it's designed as a choose your own adventure. So if your specialization is email or social or advertising, then you can go to the breakouts that are specific to those areas. So we've tried to structure it where there's about 8 to 10 categories of marketing where there's multiple breakout sessions throughout the 2 days that they can go to.
Yeah. All right, cool. So, but then will you maybe on the main sessions, are you going to put them on the website?
It's the hope. We're finalized. So. First year, it's production cost to do video for
Yeah, we'll see. Sure. Well, we always can use Larry if you want. So
there you go.
We'll throw him in the ring. But as far as the technical guys, do you think that there would be if somebody was just deeply rooted in AI, do you think that's something they might enjoy attending just to see? Or
what the sessions, they're not going to necessarily learn anything on the technical side, but what they will learn, and this is what I've discovered in the last few years, is there's a bunch of people who know how to build things and don't have something to build. And so a lot of the AI people I talked to hadn't even considered all the use cases in marketing. So I would say if they're the technical side and they're looking to build solutions, looking to apply their knowledge and skills, they could get exposed to dozens of potential use cases for AI. Because I could sit here and list dozens of things that could be intelligently automated today that there just isn't a tool to do it yet. So for the technical people, it might be an opportunity to find things to build or to find companies to partner with, like through the sponsors and speakers.
Yeah, fantastic. Like I said, when I again, shout out to Cal from Pandata, who's one of the speakers also. Startup right up there with Facebook, obviously. He's been in AI, I think, his entire life, basically. He's a younger guy, but he's like, hey, you should check out this conference. You should see what's what they're up to. I have a marketing branch to what I do in my daily life, but I also am technical, so it kind of spoke to me. So I was happy to be able to rope you into the podcast. Obviously, your main takeaway is go to MAICON, right? But
well, be curious. I mean, the thing I always end my talks with, and I've done probably 60, 70 talks in the last 2 years, and it's all different audiences. But at the end, I always tell them just you have to be curious and explore it. So that means going and getting a book about it, like Human and Machine is one of my favorite starting points, or Prediction Machine is another one. Like, just go, take the next step to make it so it's not scary anymore, to make it more approachable to yourself. If that means coming to the conference, come to the conference. If it means buying a book, buy a book, or take an online class. Like, just don't wait another year. Like, in another year, then 10% of the marketers are going to get it. And then after that, it's going to be 20 or 30. And you have this chance to get out ahead of it now.
Yeah. I guess that when you this is going back in the rabbit hole, but when you started researching it, what were the first things you saw when you're like, I need to figure out how AI interacts with marketing? I need to wrap my head around this AI thing. Where did you go first?
I read Automate This by Christopher Steiner in December of 2012. And the book had just come out like in the 12 months prior to that. And he told the story of the disruption of different industries by intelligent algorithms. And he started with 1987, a guy named Thomas Pefferty hacked NASDAQ, like literally took the feed from NASDAQ, fed it to a machine, taught the machine how to make trades. NASDAQ comes in and says you can't do that. Like, the trade has to be input. So he built a robotic arm with computer vision to read the screen to punch the trades in. And literally like took down and changed the way the industry is done. And today like 70% of all trades on Wall Street are done by machines. Then he just went industry by industry. And so I'm reading the book thinking, oh my gosh, like there's more money in these other industries, but there's nothing they're doing that isn't easier to do in marketing. Like figuring out when to trade and how much is far more complicated than how to spend $100,000 or $1 million. So I just always looked from that moment on and said, it's only a matter of time before this comes to marketing. And then I spent the next 8 years trying to figure that out. When was it going to come and in which areas of marketing and which ones could we accelerate?
Oh, it's really cool to kind of know the backstory and know that this is now going to be a large conference that has kind of been the genesis, or the genesis of that was just reading a book and trying to wrap your head around it, right? So is this where you thought you'd be?
No. I mean, Joe Polizzi, who did Content Marketing World in Cleveland, is a really good friend of mine. So, certainly we were a part of that and get to watch that grow into what it became for Cleveland. So I have had a front row seat to knowing what it took to build an event through Joe. And then I have other friends in the industry who've built events. So I do have the luxury of having a lot of people who've been through this, who could guide us in formal and informal ways. And then the lady that helped Joe on the operations and logistics side run Content Marketing World for years is running ours. So we, again, I'm not flying blind in terms of trying to build an international event. It's just terrifying to do it, and you just build it, and ticket sales and sponsorship sales and all that stuff. But it's fun. It's applying what we know just at the highest level. Like we're doing things for the campaign to build this that we've never been able to do for clients because they wouldn't open up the resources to do it. And now I basically just given the agency, like, just do whatever we have to do, like we'll do it. So it's fun in a way. We've become like an incubator for our own services.
That's the way to do it. So you can have multiple buckets that communicate, to add value. So, in the future when I try to run a conference, 8 years from now, I've now established a relationship with you where I feel like I will ask you for mentorship advice, and we'll go from there. Nice. So one more time before we close, give us all the info for MAICON.
Yeah, so www.maicon.ai, MAICON.ai. All the information's there. July 16th to the 18th in Cleveland. I hope we can be there and help support it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will have all the links to that on the RSS feed and on the video link. Appreciate it. That should be wrapping up for us. Thanks, guys.